Today, Kevin is going to be making a Battenberg cake. I don't know if you've seen the video or not. Kevin and I have reviewed the Mr. Kipling Battenberg cake from the UK. It's absolutely delicious, so I've always wanted to have one at home. This recipe is from the official Downton Abbey afternoon tea cookbook. This belongs to my sister, and she let me borrow it. So, Kevin is going to let us know the ingredients we're going to need.
3/4 cup of butter. It has to be at room temperature, so just let it sit out. You also need 1 1/3 cup of flour, 1/3 cup of almond flour, and you can see we're using the Pamela brand. 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. We just have it all in 1 cup. 1 cup of sugar, just regular granulated sugar. 3 eggs. You want them at room temperature, so let them go ahead and break them and set them out. 3/4 teaspoon of pure vanilla, 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. There is stuff in there. You can just barely see it. 1/4 cup of milk. You need some kind of red or pink food coloring. We have the food coloring gel, and I do have pink, so that's what I got out. And then for assembly, this is once it's all baked, you'll need 1/2 cup of apricot. You need 1/3 cup of apricot jam. We have preserves, so we have 1/2 cup because there's more stuff, and you don't want the stuff. You just want the gel part. So I got a little bit more than the 1/3 cup. You'll need confectionery sugar or powdered sugar for dusting, and you'll need a package of marzipan. We found this in the baking aisle at Meijer. So if you were looking for marzipan, they sell it like that. You can just get it just like that. You also need an 8x8 pan, a baking pan. This is the only 8x8 pan we had, was the disposal ones. The other ones we have were 9x9. That's going to be too big. You want an 8x8 one with a good high sides. You need an 8x12 inch piece of aluminum foil. Just go ahead and cut it out. I just use a ruler and literally measure it out. And then you need to either butter and flour your pan, or we just use Baker's Joy. It's so much easier. Just spray it, and it's already got the flour built into it. So I'm going to move some things that we're not going to use right now, and then I'll show you how to get the pan going and how to make the cake. All right, first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 325, so that's what you're going to bake it on. I've got my 8x12 inch piece of aluminum in my pan. So what I'm going to do is you're going to take your 8x12 inch sheet and fold it to where you now have an 8x6 inch piece of aluminum. So no origami just quite yet, right? We're just going to fold it in half. Then you're going to fold one side back evenly to that side. Flip it over, and we're going to fold this side back to the edge. And then when you open it, you're going to have this little like divider. So I'm going to take this and put it in my pan. And I'm going to spray this divider and all this. So I'm going to spray all this with my cooking spray. So I'll be right back. All right, here it is. It's sprayed down with the Baker's Joy. You can see it kind of puts a floury goop on the pan. So we're just gonna, and you spray it all. The divider you created and the sides of the actual pan, you spray it all. So the next thing I want to do is get my flour, my almond flour, my baking soda and salt, and I'm just gonna put it all in a bowl and basically just we're gonna pre-mix it, basically is what you're doing. The baking powder never wants to, come all the way out. Like I said, you're just pre-mixing it to make sure there's no clumps of almond flour and regular flour and salt or whatever clumped up when you mix it. So just get you a little whisk. You can use a spoon or a fork, whatever. So my next step is I'm going to get a mixer. You can use a hand mixer if you want to. It's easier if you got a big mixer. We're going to put our butter in the pan, and we're going to mix it until it's smooth and kind of whipped up, and then we're going to add our sugar. So about a minute to whip that up. So now we're just going to add our sugar. About 2 or 3 minutes of whipping this. You want it to be kind of a fluffy color or fluffy texture with a slightly lighter color. So This is nicely mixed. You see it's lighter in color. So what we're gonna do now is add our eggs one at a time. So I'm gonna add the first 2 eggs like one at a time. And then with the last egg, I'm gonna add my extracts, my vanilla and my almond extract. So you'll see me do that. The eggs and everything are well incorporated. So now I'm gonna, and I'm scraping down my sides as I go every once in a while just to make sure it's not, you know, building up on the sides. So now you wanna do about half your flour, and you're just gonna guesstimate. It doesn't have to be dead on half, but put 1 more spoonful. And then we're gonna mix that on low. You don't wanna put it on high because not only will it puff up, but you don't want it to be overly mixed. Now I'm going to add the other half of my flour and my milk. So I'm going to go ahead and pour my milk in here. And the rest of my flour. Okay, so my mix is here. And so what you want to do is divide it evenly. They are saying it should be about 400 grams each. So I've just put my pan on a scale and I'm just gonna scoop it out to where I'm pretty sure it's gonna be about evenly, but it should be about 400 one way or the other. If I get to the point where it looks like it's, I'm getting too much, then I'll stop. But I think that's probably, probably about half right there. What do you think? I'm asking my camera person. What do you think? I think that's about half.
I think you could put a little bit more.
I'm gonna leave it at that. So I'm gonna spread this out. Do something you may think seems a little silly, but I'm gonna get a ruler real quick. And I'm gonna make sure that's about 4 inches. Yep, so it's a little bigger than 4, but it's fine. Okay, so the rest of this, what I'm gonna do is, I'm wondering if I can.
So what would you do? Scoot if it wasn't, would you scoot that paper?
Just slide it over a little bit, yeah. Yeah, I worry about this being, like I said, I can always go, I can take some of this and put in the pink, but I can't go the other way around, so. Yeah, that's 365. I'm gonna leave it there.
365, yeah.
Okay, so the rest of this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in my back. Well, I can do it by hand. I'm gonna put, this is gel, so it's not, it's strong, color-wise. So you don't need a ton of it. So I'm gonna start out with 1 drop. I've never used the gel food coloring. It is so nice compared to the liquid kind. A couple drops really goes a long way. This is what it looks like now. Tammy's saying she would do 1 more, so it's going to be a little darker. Turn my pan around. Turn it back on. You don't have to do it this way. I'm just curious to see what it's going to end up being, how close I was to half and half. So now you want your pink on the other side. That was at 360 on one side, on a 380, 390 on this side. I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna get rid of that now. It's going to bake in the oven for 32 to 34 minutes, basically just to a toothpick or a steak knife or skewer, anything. Alright, this ended up taking like 40 minutes to bake. I think it's because it only baked at 325 instead of 350, which is the normal temperature. So normally we bake cakes at 350. Anyway, it's baked, it comes out clean, so it's good. It's going to sit in the pan for at least 15 minutes to cool off, and then I'll be back to transfer it out of the pan. All right, so it's cooled off for 50 minutes. You're gonna take a knife and just go around the edges to make sure it's not stuck anywhere. So far it hasn't been stuck at all. Yeah, it's coming right loose. Yeah, and then go next to your aluminum. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take this and put it on top of this, and I'm gonna flip the whole thing over. Should slide right out of there. Take my aluminum. And pull it out. So these have to sit on this pan and cool till they're cool completely. So they look pretty good though. All right, so I flipped my cakes over so the tops would be up. When I cut them, I'm gonna cut out this little dip right here. The next thing you wanna do is get you a little saucepan and you wanna put your apricot preserves, your apricot jams, whatever you got. And we're gonna put that into our saucepan. We're gonna put this into our saucepan. I know that's awful. And we're gonna heat it on low heat until it is basically a liquid, a fluid, and then we're going to take it and put it in through a wire sieve, a filter, into a smaller bowl to just where the liquids come out and there's no solids in the bowl. So we just want the liquids out of here. So I'm gonna do that next. I'm gonna heat this up on low and then we'll deal with the cake. All right, so this is where the measuring and fun comes in. So since this one does have a dip in it, I'm gonna deal with this one first. So I'm gonna take it and put it on the counter. And I'm gonna try to trim it off as low as the top off, just as basically as low as I can without going too low. You don't want to cut off too much. I think I'm right underneath of it, so that's good. And you can always save this to eat later. Oh, that looks pretty good, and actually it's pretty decently square. So what you want to do, it's going to sound really crazy, but you're going to get a ruler and you're going to measure about how high it is. So I am at about right there, wherever that is on the scale. I don't know what the scale is measured in. It's kind of weird. But anyway, I'm right there. Just a little above the 1. And right at about a 1 there. So what I want to do is I want to square this all up. And if you were really, like if you were in a restaurant, you'd probably have rulers out and measure everything perfectly. But for me, it's going to be good enough. So I'm going to do this the same width, and I have washed my knife, by the way, if you're wondering. I mean, washed my ruler. Sorry, I said knife. I want that square to be the same, and all the rest of this you can just eat. So there's my 2 for that. And I got to do the same thing for this one, which is going to be more challenging because now I need to get this about the same height as the other one. So I'm going to do a test fit. It's going to fit together just like that in my marzipan. So perfect. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to let my apricot jam heat up a little bit more to where it's a liquid. I'll be back. Okay, my preserves is pretty much boiling. So I've got it in this sieve, and I'm basically just going to push it through to make sure the liquids are coming out and none of the solids. I got more in here than I needed because this was preserves and not jam. A couple more steps. I am going to go ahead and trim the end off. You want it to be about 7 inches long, and if you look, my cake is basically right at 7 inches anyway. So I'm going to just cut the very, very, very ends off and just square it up a bit. Just like that. Don't much, just a little bit to make it flat on the ends. Okay, next step, we gotta do our marzipan. So on marzipan, I did, you wanna dust a little powdered sugar on the surface of your work surface. And it doesn't have to be a lot, just a little dusting. I'm gonna open my marzipan. Okay, so this is an 8-ounce container. I forgot to mention this earlier. This is an 8-ounce container. You only need 7 ounces. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to open this, weigh it out to where I get 7 ounces, and I'll be back. All right, so here's the marzipan. I just cut, basically got it down to where it was 7. I'm just gonna put a little bit of powdered sugar on here so it's not quite so sticky. Not too bad, but I'm gonna squash it with my hands a little bit just to get it started. And then you want to roll this out to where it is 8 by 11 and a half. So I've got it rolled out pretty big. So you end up needing it to be 7 inches wide. So I'm gonna cut it, like I said, lots of measuring. I mean, lots of ruler use in this thing. So I'm gonna get rid of that. And I'm gonna make score marks because I'm picky. I need 10 and a half long. Close enough. It's going to overlap like right there. And mine wasn't super close to the height of what they were saying anyway. So I'm going to get a spatula and work this loose. I don't want it to stick really bad. Basically what I'm going to do is this is going to lay like right here, and this is going to fold over it on both sides. So you want your jam, you want to put some of your jam right here in the middle. I'm going to use my little spatula for this. I'm going to stick one of the red pieces of cake right here. And then we're going to spread jam on the side of it. We're going to stick one of the, I guess, brown pieces, white pieces, whatever color you want to say that is, like that. And then we're going to put jam on top of those. So I've got it spread on the top. Now you're going to basically do the same thing. We're going to stick a white one on top of the pink, and then I'm going to spread jam on the side because you want them to stick together. Stick the pink one on there. Now comes the fun part. You got to put it on top, but you also have to put it on the sides. I think it's going to be easier if I just spread it on here. So I'm going to fold this, take 1/2 and just fold it up. And stick it really good. And then I get a little water on my finger. And just rub it on the edge here. So it'll stick. That's basically it. And then you can just trim the ends off to where it's really nice and neat. You really want to like flip it over, but let me cut the ends off. I don't know that it's going to be, you know, bakery quality, but it looks like it's pretty cool. Yeah, and then you want to take it and put seam side down on your plate. And it's ready to slice and serve.
So Battenberg cake, also known as domino cake or church window cake, this almond flavored checkerboard style confection was named in honor of the 1884 marriage of Queen Victoria's granddaughter Victoria to Prince Louis of Battenberg. Because of anti-German sentiment in Britain during World War I, the prince gave up his German name and titles in 1917 and took an English name, Mountbatten, the surname of the current Prince Philip of England, his grandson. So, of course, Prince Philip is gone on now, but that is where this cake got its name. So the book says you can either eat it at room temperature or you can have it chilled, whichever way.
It also says wrap it up in a plastic wrap, and you can keep it up to, what does it say, 3 days? Yeah, 3 days
yes.
in the refrigerator. So it doesn't last a really long time.
No, it doesn't. So, okay, here we go. I'm just gonna grab this.
And also, one thing I kept forgetting to mention, it said to use white marzipan.
White.
This is the only marzipan we could find. So this is like an off-white, but it's as white as we could get it.
But it did not say anywhere on the box what color it was, so you didn't know.
So it was just almond color.
You just had no idea. The marzipan by itself is just a very, very raw almond flavor.
Now you eat these a lot more than I do.
Yeah, but I haven't gotten a piece yet with the apricot.
Oh, I'll take a huge hunk. Half much done. Good?
It's delicious. It really is. I think the apricot is what adds all that sweetness to it, because you saw we had extra cake left, and honestly, Kevin and I both discussed it. With the extra cake that you don't use, they should give you a recipe in this book what to do with your extra pieces, like making a trifle or something like that.
Yeah, anything
would be a great idea. Kevin and I were just eating it by itself because
it's good. It's got a good almond, sweet almond kind of flavor. It's good though. The flavor of this is good. The textures are really nice. I thought it was going to be really dense, and it's not. It's pretty. I mean, it's kind of somewhat dense, but it's not really dense either. One thing like I said, it sunk in. That one piece did. It would have been a little bit bigger if I'd been able to cut it a little bit higher. I would have been able to make the squares a little bigger. But overall, I think it turned out really good. First time I've ever made one, so I think it turned out pretty decent. I
think it's great. This is something that a lot of Americans watching the video might be like, Battenberg, I've not heard of Battenberg, but when you go to the UK, it's very, very common. They've made it on the Great British Bake Off before.
That's one of their contests usually.
And like I said, Mr. Kipling cakes, they have Battenbergs, and they're absolutely fantastic. They're small and thin, and I could eat a whole box in one sitting. The apricot really does add a lot of sweetness though, but that cake recipe, that's good cake just by itself with a cup of tea or coffee or whatever.
Put a little glaze on it. You can put like a little lemon glaze or
but we
like
tried it with nothing on it, and it was still
yep.
nice. Yeah, it was really, really nice. So I think this turned out really well. The colors might not be dead on what they were wanting the colors to be.
No, but my checkerboard looks good.
I think it looks great. Yeah, he did a wonderful job. And I knew this, if any recipe in this book would be for Kevin to do, it would be this one. Because using the ruler and measuring and all that stuff, you have to be more particular than I am. I'm just a willy-nilly throw it in the bowl kind of person. And I really I like to halfway read the directions. Whereas this one, you really have to read those directions and understand exactly what they're saying.
So, it's good. I think it's a good recipe. It worked out fine.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.